Support WrestleTalk!
Hello and welcome to this WrestleTalk reactive news. Second news video on Wednesday. It's what we do. I'm Chopper P. Quinnell. I'm joined by Randy Andy Datson. Tempest is back in Canada, so I'm here instead.
I just can't believe he was deported so quickly.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's
we thought he was going to be this huge presence on the WrestleTalk channel now, but unfortunately he's gone back to Canada forever and will never be back. Apart from in a couple of weeks when he comes back. So we are going to be talking about today Vince McMahon, unsurprisingly.
Who?
Because all of the wrestling news that there's going to be for the next couple weeks and months is probably going to be revolved around Vince McMahon, because as we mentioned when the breaking news came out of Vince McMahon retiring from WWE, it's like one of the biggest wrestling news stories of all time, and all of the fallout that's coming out from that is now coming out. So we've got a lot to talk about. This first little bit, courtesy of Fightful Select, who talk about more accusations against Vince McMahon, because they don't ever stop.
No, they don't stop, and this one is kind of the least surprising one so far, I think. Although none of them have been particularly surprising. I mean, Vince McMahon has always reminded me of the slightly inappropriate, and maybe very inappropriate uncle at a party.
Yeah.
And this story really feels like that. It's like, oh man, Uncle Vince is coming around.
Exactly.
Whatever he says, don't take it, he doesn't mean anything by it. He's of a different time, you know?
Which is hardly an excuse, but here we go. It's essentially saying that a lot of the creative writers' assistants effectively needed to filter Vince themselves in ways. They needed to know what to not write for Vince McMahon when taking notes for him, and that the minutes that they took in meetings were heavily edited. This is because Vince was saying very insensitive things or offensive things, which range from apparently just saying those things, people being like, sure, that's Vince, we'll just ignore that bit, to, oh god, what did he just say? Moments. And also he keeps forgetting WWE's own kayfabe as well, and he would call people the wrong names, he would use terms that weren't socially acceptable, and that he wouldn't even allow on TV. Like, he's aware that they're wrong, yet he used them himself. Alright, and I really like this quote. A former production employee from WWE, direct quote from Fightful Select's report, saying, if a live feed of Vince McMahon on a headset any given night ever made it out, that it would provide a picture of that production experience, especially for the announcers. There were plenty of times he was in a good mood, but he would blow up at the most ridiculous things and act like they ruined an angle that was far past its expiration date anyway.
Can you imagine having Vince McMahon in your ear while trying to do your job? I mean, we give commentators quite a lot of stick for maybe not being as good as we hoped they would be. I think Renee Young particularly comes to mind there, where a lot of her commentary was, oh wow, but if you have a 75-year-old man in your ear shouting at you and telling you that you're an idiot, or telling you that you're wrong, or telling you that what to say, that must be such a difficult job. I mean, like, let's say we were doing this and you got Ollie in your ear going, no, Pete, no, what are you doing? What are you doing, Pete? It would be impossible to talk.
Yeah. While occasionally dropping slurs and socially inappropriate terms in your ear while you're trying to do it. Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Or if we're having our Wednesday meeting and Luke's sitting there just being incredibly inappropriate, and you can see that everyone is visibly uncomfortable and sort of going, oh boy. Like, WWE is not a normal company.
No.
No. Unfortunately, it's not always in a good way. Hopefully now it will be in a better way. I can't see Triple H or Stephanie McMahon being that inappropriate, especially in meetings with the talent, because all the reports are that they really like them. You don't want to be sitting there as a creative writer and the person who you are writing for, you are scared of what they're going to say.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like a constant thing that we keep hearing about, like, you know, Vince tearing up scripts last minute for creative and stuff like that. The writers just being like, what's the point in us writing? Because Vince is just going to tear it up and do his own thing. It was always the case that people were writing for an audience of one, and that person was Vince McMahon, because whatever he said goes. One last bit from this Fightful Select report that I love. Now, obviously, that stuff is pretty bad, using the insensitive language, being offensive and stuff like that. It's bad. I would say it's not quite as bad as some of the other things that Vince McMahon has been accused of. But, you know, it's not great. I would also say it's not surprising at all. This bit I really enjoy, though, because this would probably explain so many things about WWE's programming. According to a direct quote they got from one of their sources in this report as well, asking what they expected to change with Triple H in control of creative going forwards. One specifically said, recall of what we have and haven't done repeatedly. There were so many things that Vince insisted on doing that I'm pretty sure he didn't remember doing over and over again, even when people would tell him.
He was in charge for many years, and so you can kind of excuse the fact that maybe now and then he would forget that 25 years ago they'd done something. However,
Totally.
there were reports and rumours over the last few years especially that Vince was forgetting things.
Yeah.
And that he'd be having a conversation with someone and he would forget their name. And like you say, it explains a lot about WWE TV. I mean, week after week you will see the same thing. So who knows, perhaps he's just forgot half the stuff that happened in the last few years. It's not his fault.
See, the thing with this on Vince McMahon, though, is that wrestling was never really his passion. He likes bodybuilding, he likes football. Those were like his things, right? He just took over this company because it was a way for him to make money.
And also he's famously good at running football companies.
Exactly, yeah. He's had 100% success rate with that. For this, though, he just clearly doesn't have the passion for pro wrestling. So when he says, it doesn't matter, do a rematch of Lacey Evans and Aaliyah. Like, we haven't done that before, it's fine, whatever.
It'd be like if
it's
I
like, we
ran
did it the last 3 weeks, Vince. And just be like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. So now they can actually have someone who remembers WWE's history. And the thing is, it's not even that you can't do the same story again, because certain stories just work. They're good stories, and you can do them multiple times, and it's totally fine. Because you can have unique spins on it based off the character interactions that you're having, because each character should be unique. But when you're doing literally the same thing for multiple months in a row, or, it's like, if anyone's seen any podcast review that me and Tempest have ever done, we'll always talk about like how stories always get to the first chapter and then just stay at the first chapter for ages. And for me, this feels like it's a symptom of this mindset from Vince of just forgetting what they've done. Just be like, well, I don't know, have them do a promo.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the promo is, just do a promo. But linked with this whole Vince McMahon story, obviously, the shockwaves will be felt throughout the wrestling world for a long time, so get used to it. There has been, since the announcement was made that Vince McMahon was retiring, there has been an awful lot of speculation that this could lead to a sale of WWE. Now, this was something that was already speculated about in the past year when Nick Khan was making all these adjustments in the company, releasing a bunch of talent, consolidating different departments, and just streamlining the whole company. It was speculated that this could be leading to a sale of WWE. And Nick Khan, wrong Khan, said on the Town podcast that we're open for business when it comes to selling WWE. It's not out of the question that this could happen. And since Vince McMahon's retired, those talks and that speculation has now been ramped up again. Now, there's specific dates and things to bear in mind here, and this is still speculation that they could be selling. But I think it's really interesting to note that in a financial filing dated the 31st of December, 2021, they specifically mentioned what could happen to the company if they lost the services of Vince McMahon, which has now happened. And I think this is really interesting because they said the unexpected loss of the services of Vincent K. McMahon could adversely affect our ability to create popular characters and creative storylines, or could otherwise adversely affect our operating results.
Yeah, and that's definitely what's happened because the stock's gone way up and everyone now believes that the creative will be much better as a result of Vince leaving.
I love that this is so just
he wrote this, didn't he? He's
totally.
Oh man, if I go, how on earth will they create anything that's worth watching? I'm the best.
And from CNBC as well, they did a report about this stuff, and they're saying that the timing of the deal of a potential sale could come around the time when they're negotiating for new TV deals, which is supposed to happen in mid-2023. So we've got about a year until these next negotiations happen. Both Fox owning SmackDown, the rights to SmackDown, and NBC Universal owning the rights to Raw, they both end in the fourth quarter of 2024, but the actual negotiations happen mid-2023. So if there is going to be some sort of sale or some sort of acquisition of WWE, it might come around that sort of period. So we might not see it right away, but maybe in about a year's time, we might be looking at WWE selling, which I think is really interesting.
Which is really interesting, and you'd sort of think it wouldn't be something that, as we've kind of pointed out, that would have happened while Vince McMahon is in charge. I can't see Vince McMahon being the kind of guy who would want to feel like someone else owned him. Whereas Nick Khan is ever the money man.
Yes.
You know Spyro?
I'm aware of Spyro.
You know Mr.
Yes.
Moneybags?
Yes.
He always reminds me of Nick Khan, kind of standing with a bag of gems.
They have described him as bear-like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
What I would hope is that if there was going to be a sale, that the people who purchased WWE wouldn't come in and just shovel their guys in the top position, because I think a lot of people are now excited about the prospect of Triple H and the prospect of him being head of not just creative but talent relations, his possible relationship with like Paul Heyman to kind of help him with creative. If they are going to sell, I hope it doesn't change too much as of right now.
Yeah, and the thing is that we've got a year of Triple H, so maybe in a year's time they're going to be like, actually no, we're doing really well, Triple H is doing great, we don't really want to sell.
No.
So we'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching this episode of the WrestleTalk News, this reactive news. Really hope you're enjoying this format. We're still tweaking and playing with it, so if you've got any feedback for the format, let us know. We're going to be introducing more of these, hopefully, down the line. I've been Chopper P. Quinnell, been joined by Randy Andy Datson. Like and subscribe if you haven't. We do daily wrestling news videos. Also, check out some other stuff. I did a video essay about should wrestling have an off-season. I think it's pretty good. Go watch that as well. We'll see you on another video. Jam that jam. Goodbye.